first.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Selectmen's meeting of November 6, 2018. Roll call.
4 selectmen present and town council. Don't know where the town administrator is, but I imagine, is he coming? He's dining.
He's out, he's out at getting fat food.
Oh, okay,
I
great.
saw his picture in the paper, so I know he's here.
You saw his picture in the paper?
Yeah.
All right, then.
As long as it wasn't on a post office.
Mr. Curry, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, announcements. Mary, anything?
No.
Peter?
Yes, you still have about 54 minutes to go vote.
Good one. Patrick?
Okay, yeah, I was going to say the same thing. You get to, it's a good thing, get out there and vote if you haven't done it already. You know, it's an important election for everybody, and it's important to the future of the town. We have the school on there, as you well know, so get out there and vote for it. Next, I have, let's see, Plymouth Redevelopment Authority, November 13th and 14th, between 5 and 9:30. They're going at the Plymouth Community Intermediate School, Little Theater. First time home buyer seminar, if anybody's interested. You can register at plymouthredevelopment.org. Participation may be eligible for USDA loans, down payment assistance, Mass Housing Partnership Programs, and Mass Housing Financing Authority. So if you're interested in that, go for it. That's all I have.
Okay. School department, for their fiscal 2020 budget, they'll be having a presentation. The school committee, board of selectmen, and I imagine probably the finance committee, November 29th, 2018, 7 p.m. at this room here, room 320. Historical Society has an event going to be hosted. It will be Howie Smith Jr. Program is on the Maxim Motor Company of Middleborough, Mass., builders of Massachusetts fire apparatus, Monday, November 19th, 7 p.m. at the Methodist Meeting House at 495 Main Street, Wareham. And Wareham Historical Society 2018 Holiday Craft Fair, November 10th, Saturday this week, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. They're going to have different gifts for Christmas, etc. Seascapes by Mary Nyman, Pumpkin Town Farm Soaps, the Black Leash, which I think the leash is for collars and stuff. You get one of those?
Not for you.
Bumper Bees, Christmas crafts, designs by Priscilla, and some fundraising as well there. I also, if you give me a second, I believe Mr. Campina sent me a note. Too many toys these days. Bum, bum. Beep, bum, bum, bum. Here we go. Right, John. It looks like I lost it.
Well, you're old, as evidenced by the fact that it was yet another birthday for you yesterday. Happy birthday, Mr. Chairman.
Oh,
Thank you, I think. Let me just try one more spot here, see if I have it. Okay. Go back one more. It's fairly important, so I'm going to try and find it if I can. What'd you bring us for lunch?
Chewed food.
That's what I thought. Do you know the, can't find it, I've lost it. Guy came and sent us a note to announce some kind of program.
You can announce this in the meantime. That's invitation for you guys.
Oh,
Do you remember the other one?
I didn't see anything. I don't think. Was it sent out to all the selectmen?
I didn't see
No, guy sent me, no, it's my fault. Okay, I guess I don't have it even in my junk somehow or another.
while you're
That's a
poking
good one.
around, I'll announce this. The Wareham Free Library, come celebrate our recertification at the library, 59 Marion Road. This will be Thursday evening, November 15th, from 6 PM until 8 PM. Enjoy refreshments, take a tour, come see what your newly certified, full-service local library can do for you.
Well, I'm still looking, our acting police chief, John Walczak, announced today that our department has just received a $19,000 grant. They keep working really hard to make everything safe and keep coming up with new ways of funding, which is really appreciated. And let me go through one more area here. Nope, sorry. Have to get it next time we go. That's it for me. All set to go.
All right, well, can I say one more thing? I just got a little text from somebody. It says, there are signs out there that say question 4 is an override. It's not an override, it's a debt exclusion. I don't know how many times we had to say this, so if you're standing there and you're trying to decide right now how to vote, vote based on the fact that it's a debt exclusion, which means it falls off when the school's paid for. It's not a permanent override by any stretch of the imagination. And if somebody's putting out signs like that, that's misleading, and they shouldn't be there.
I think the problem is, unfortunately, that in the state of Massachusetts, the override provision includes in the same chapter, in the same section, debt exclusion, so it all falls under override/debt exclusion.
Yeah, but you have to read the right things to
Well-
know what it is, yes.
That's the magic word you have to read.
I think they're just saving money. They seem to be frugal folks and just used it for the override attempt and are just throwing the same signs out there.
That's what I figured
Yeah,
too,
so,
because there's one right outside.
yeah, so.
Yes, we know that.
Well, they're wrong.
Yeah.
Citizens for limited spending.
Next is citizen comments. Okay.
Oh,
Come
boy.
on, Mrs. Slavin.
We had board comments next.
We'll do
No,
that
they flipped it
afterwards.
around.
They put it in wrong again.
Oh,
So we're just gonna do,
They keep switching
we're
it.
gonna swap it around?
we're gonna swap it around.
I thought you swapped it on purpose.
No,
I know.
we fixed it. Usually.
We haven't heard them yet.
Thank you, good evening. The announcement Mr. Slavin is trying to find is that the Water Pollution Control Facility has available a gallon jug of root kill
That's it.
that can be used by citizens to place down their sewer lines to kill the roots that are showing up in the lateral feeds into the sewer lines, because we're getting a lot of roots and stuff getting in. So Guy has a bunch of gallon root kill, whatever the name of it is, available free. Just come by the facility and pick it up and pour it down your drain.
I should say yes there.
What's the chairman of the Conservation Commission think of this stuff?
Hadn't looked at it. Well, keep in mind, it's going, it's.
She can't comment during citizens' comments.
See, nothing? I just thought I'd save Mr. Slavin the embarrassment of not finding the article.
Wow.
Who?
You know, another year.
Please don't save me in a similar
Don't
fashion
say yes,
someday.
dear.
All I'm going to say is welcome to my world.
Wow.
A couple weeks ago, Joe Liggett, Judy Whiteside, Nora Bickey, myself, and Alan picked up trash along Narrows. And as I always do, I've always found something worth commenting on in the trash that I found along the side of the road. So I thought you might be interested in some of the things. If you're expecting your medical records to be delivered by a company called Omnicare, they didn't make it. They were found on the side of the road, all mushed up in paper machete, so nothing could be read. So if you're looking for your medical records, they never arrived. Some of the things we found was somebody was kind enough to buy something at Walmart at Denver's, and come down to Wareham, throw it away on our side of the road. I thought that was very appropriate to hang on to your trash from Danvers all the way down here. Appreciate it. And also, if you're missing something, here's a little pair of socks that have never been worn for a little baby. So they're there. This is going to part of the things, when you pick up on the side of the road, you must wear gloves. Must wear gloves. So when we're picking up the side of the road, I'm going to offend some people by saying this. We found a used diaper and a used tampon. So we were not pleased with what had been discarded along the side of the road for us to pick up, but there they are. So I thought I'd say, oh, and dollar bill that, got a dollar bill, barely, but that was it. And I was extremely disappointed at town meeting. I'm sitting there looking for warrant articles, and what was in the booklet didn't match what was being talked about, and it was very uncomfortable not knowing which document is the real document to look at for some of the articles that we discussed. We have so many placeholders being done early on that by the time we get a warrant published, the placeholders are still being developed and tweaked until an hour before town meeting. I know it's out of your purview. I know you have nothing to do with the warrant, but it would be nice if, no, you don't. That's a
Finance Committee handbook. The warrant was properly posted.
Finance Committee document is what everybody was given at town meeting, not always a handout, but please try, if we're gonna have so many placeholders, maybe that document says placeholders, look for handout, as opposed to trying to put something in the warrant document that doesn't match with what was being voted on. It was a tough town meeting. Thank you. I'm done.
Well, I'd like to say something about that, okay? The motions, and it has been this way since I've been involved since the early 90s, and I know it's been like that for the last 50 years. The motions are just, the things that we send out, the warrants, are just to forewarn you that we're gonna be talking about a specific subject and what is in the book you see. That is not necessarily the motion that will appear on town meeting floor. And the motions are different. They always are. They never can be the same as what we start out with, because of course they're always evolving, and people have to understand that. And it's been like that forever. There's no surprise. This particular time, some people seem surprised, but it's never been a surprise. It's been like that forever, and let me tell you, I've been there a long time, and it's always been that way. Always.
Yeah.
And it's not that we wouldn't like to do it another way. We'd love to have, just put it in there the first time and there you go. But it doesn't work that way because there's stuff evolving. There's numbers that have to be created and things that are going on behind the scenes in order to get to the final motion. And then, of course, the final motion has to be written. Somebody has to sit down and write the final motion. And we have a very short time, 45 days? In order to do all that. Very, very short. So I understand everybody's confusion, and maybe we could do a better job at town meeting of making sure that we tell people before it starts that there's handouts out there, and that you should probably get one of the handouts. Maybe that would be a good way to sort of alleviate some of that.
There'll be discussion tomorrow at the Finance Committee meeting on this very subject when I go there.
Okay.
I will take care of it.
So I just thought we should have, I understand the confusion, and I understand how it goes, and it's always problematic, and, you know, we could try to alleviate it to make sure that if there's handouts there, they know they're there. You know, when you start the article, Article 7, there's a handout for this article, you know what I mean? So everybody gets it.
Well, one of the things you could look at is, for example, when a bill goes through Congress, you know, the initial bill is proposed from the floor, then it gets sent to committee, they play around with it, it comes back to that body, they play around with it, then it goes up to the Senate, for example, if it's an appropriation bill, it has to start in the House, and then it goes up to the Senate, and then the Senate gets it, and then they took a look at it, and somebody introduces it on the floor, and then it goes to committee, and then it comes back for readings, and it comes back from debate, and then two different things happen, and then they got to go to conference committee and everything else. It's kind of the same as what happens at town meeting here. It's not a lot different. The legislative process, by definition, is time-consuming and messy.
So just the last, I would say, 8 town meetings I've been involved in, all involved handouts separate from the Finance Committee booklet. There seemed to be, I think there was more confusion being brought forward by some of the boards out of the audience than anything, and I think that led to people's confusion. It's something we do all the time. We have a separate handout. We put the motion on there that says administration handout, planning board handout. Some of these items were in front of boards at previous town meetings. I don't know why they didn't get moved forward. I'm frustrated because we've had a lot of good employees working hard, trying to do things to benefit the community, and to hear some of the things at town meeting, it was disappointing. So.
Well, you know, sometimes too, one of the issues, right? Like we have, sometimes you have a hearing in front of the planning board. And now if the planning board doesn't get or make a decision, that doesn't mean it's not gonna come forward on town meeting floor. It still can, okay? They have the public hearing. As long as they have the public hearing, they've met the criteria for the law. After that, it may still come forward, it may not. Everybody might agree, well, you know what, maybe we need to do something else with this, but some may think it's more important and needs to go forward. And so it'll come forward on the floor anyway, even if the planning board didn't make a suggestion, sometimes even when they say no, it'll still come forward on the floor. All of that's that's part of our political process. And by the way, it's a terrific one, because how many places can you go and stand up on the floor and try to influence the decisions that are made for you on town meeting floor? Anybody who goes to that meeting can stand up and have something to say about what's being discussed. That's pretty neat. You don't get that in the city, I'll tell you that, because they got people that are sitting there doing it all for you. They got a mayor making all the decisions. You guys get to make all those decisions. I think it's terrific. Anyway, that's probably enough of that.
We all good?
Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
It's election day.
Well, yeah, it's election day, and we're talking about political stuff, so whatever. Board comments.
Okay. Mary?
I'm good.
Peter?
I would like to thank everybody about town meeting for hanging in there for 2 hours, you know, notwithstanding what the town administrator said about maybe some of the comments being a little peculiar. I'm trying to say it nicely. It was, and the fact that it ran over 2 nights, you know, there was some hotly debated issues. That's just part of the process. I'd like to thank the moderator. We probably gave her as rough a town meeting as we've given her since she first came on board, just in terms of the nature of the issues, the intensity of the debate and things like that. But, you know, she hung right in there and got us through it. It was the first 2-nighter in a long time, but, you know, the issues discussed the first night were all time-consuming, so it was important to give them the time that they needed to be properly vetted so that they could go forward. So I just want to thank the moderator. I want to thank especially the people who came back the second night after the 3+ hour ordeal the first night.
Okay, so, yeah, so interesting enough, 522 people in the hall first night. It's pretty neat, 522 people. That's, I think that's a lot, and that's great. And we should see that all the time, because like I say, you get an opportunity here you don't get any other place or any other time. All right, secondly, the treatment center at the church over here that has the drop-in center, which is the third Wednesday of every month. Well, the last meeting, they had 4 people they were able to place in treatment from one thing. They had a few weeks they didn't do much of anything, and then they hit this week and they had 4 people. We had another death yesterday, which is sad and disappointing, but, you know, one person at a time, that's all we can do. You know, they're trying hard, I can say that. And it looks like there's a lot of people starting to get on board now. We had the meeting with the hospital and this group, and they're gonna kind of work together a little better and things of that nature, and they're gonna try to get some of the people cleared right away so they can get to a treatment center, because sometimes they come in there and they're not cleared yet, meaning that medically they have to be cleared by somebody. And the hospital is willing to step up apparently and help get them cleared immediately so they can get to a treatment center, which is really nice. So that's good stuff. The last thing I got to talk about is the 40B. Now, the 40B got its approval, and I'm not happy with it at all. And the reason why I'm not happy about it is because you remember that list of things that we talked about? That they went down and they scratched out all the list, and they said, no, we're not gonna do this, we're not gonna do that, including a playground for a ton of kids that are on an 8-acre parcel. And all those things that they asked, they were not included They were supposed to all be included in the approval. Yeah, we'll approve it, this is what we want. They said, well, they didn't want it, so we didn't put it in. That's baloney. So now you're gonna have, and by the way, I sat down and we worked some numbers today, and according to some of our numbers, it's .87 per household. At least that's what it is in a couple of the other projects we have, which still gives us 110 kids roughly in that project. And I think it'll be higher because of the nature of the project. But 110 kids, we're still short $1 million. Where's the money coming from? Got any idea? That's what it's gonna cost to pay to send them to school, over and above, not counting all the services and everything else that we pay for. Anybody got any idea
Yes,
where we're getting the money?
coming out of the town.
Coming out of the town, yeah. So what departments are we gonna cut? $1 million, a lot of money. Everywhere, right. So this is a very bad project, and still to this minute, we've done nothing. I still think we should, and I'm telling you right now, not issue a single permit to that project, not one, and that we file a lawsuit against the state and whoever else we have to fight any which way we can with this project. I mean any which way. And we haven't done a thing. None of us have. We keep talking about it. We say, well, we'll put it on the agenda. Maybe we'll do this. Maybe we'll do that. And so far, nothing has happened. Not one thing. Now we have an approved project for 150 units on an 8-acre parcel of land with nothing for these kids to play on or anything else. Zero. What are we going to do? Anybody got any ideas? Where are we going? Well, Mr. Bowen, let's get Mr. Bowen on board. Mr. Bowen, what can we do here?
I don't like talking about litigation in open session.
All right, so we need to have, oh, okay, I get that. But you know what? We've got to do something. I make a motion that we deny all permits to this project until we come up with a plan to litigate this project. I don't care if we have to sue our own board. Whatever it takes, this project has to be stopped.
That's a head scratcher.
No, we've done it before. It won't be the first time. I can tell you that right now. I've been here when it happened.
If you would like, I'll put this as an executive session for the next time we meet. I think we need to discuss it.
Well, it's got to happen in a hurry. That's all I know, because we're running out of time.
We meet again on the, let's see,
20th.
20th, how's that?
Fine, but I'm telling you, I'm getting angry that we're not doing anything about it. We're all taking it lackadaisical up here, in my opinion, every single one of us.
Not really.
Well, it appears that way to me. What have we done? We haven't done anything. We haven't done, we've had how many months? What have we done? What have we actually done for the what, 10 months that this thing's been going on?
Gone to the ZBA meetings, and
Yeah, we've gone to the meetings, but what have we done? What have we done to help guide the process?
but we don't have the ability to sit there and have the ZBA vote for us.
No, we don't, but we certainly could have put in, I made 2 suggestions. One, to send a letter off to the controller there. We never did that. Okay, that letter never went off. For another thing, I said we should file about the unfunded mandate against the state. They've lost a bunch of those cases lately. Why can't we be a winner of one of those cases? No, that hasn't happened either.
We'll discuss it on the 20th. How's that?
Okay,
All right?
yeah. All right, I'm done.
You good now?
Whatever, okay.
We'll send you to the Holiday Inn Express next time.
It's very frustrating. I'm sorry. It's very frustrating. I don't know where the money's coming from, and I'm telling you, you guys don't, you laugh, but you know, another year from now, when those things start to get built and and this starts to affect us, right? What are we gonna do? Where's the money coming from? There's, you know, not to beat a dead horse, but, you know, we've been cutting. We had 54 people in municipal maintenance and buildings and grounds. We now have 9. That's all I'm saying.
Thank you. Again, as we've talked about, town meeting was a little frustrating. I'm hoping that as we move forward, those people that were on one side or the other of the marijuana issue or in the school, basically get together and kind of mend all the wounds everywhere, because it was not a very pleasant situation. We still have people that are very upset about how the votes went. And there's not much we can do except to tell everybody it's time to kind of smile and get it off your chest and move forward.
The
Because
votes were overwhelming, so
it doesn't matter. It's still, we have that situation we have to deal with. And we'll see how it goes and how we go forward as well. I'm a little concerned overall with the election, with the high turnout. Not that the turnout high isn't a problem. I'm more concerned about how everybody accepts whatever the results are after today. How calm everything is, et cetera. I talked to Acting Police Chief Walczek today, and I expressed my concerns about he and his police force and what they're going to probably be experiencing over the next year possibly as a result of how this election goes and how people respond to it. If you look at the newspaper every day, we have more shootings, we have more basically mass murders, et cetera, and it's not getting better, and I don't think it's going to get better because I don't think this election is going to solve anything. I think it's going to basically separate the country some more. So again, I'm asking everybody to kind of step back and understand where this country was, where it should be going, and to stop the anger. Thank you.
And, Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, we do have a 7:15 hearing.
It's okay, we,
pick that up now.
Take it next.
we can do it right now if you like.
Yep. Jackie, you want to come up?
All right. In accordance with the Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 40, Section 56, the Wareham Board of Selectmen will conduct a public hearing on Tuesday, November 6, 2018, at 7:15 in the Multi-Service Center, Room 320, 48 Marion Road, Wareham, to receive public input relative to the decision and determine the FY residential factor. I move we open the public hearing.
second.
Mary?
Yes.
Peter? Peter?
Yeah, of course.
Yes.
Alan, yes.
And I apologize, Jackie, I said we'd get you in your right ear, but I didn't plan on these topics, so.
Politics.
I'll make this relatively quick. You've heard my song and dance before.
Mm-hmm.
We are here for another year. I would like to just clarify again that we are pending approvals from the Department of Revenue. Got half my stuff in and half pending. So our vote tonight, we will keep the hearing open until we get the approvals and all is stamped, signed, sealed, delivered. The purpose of the hearing is to determine whether the town will continue to utilize the single tax rate for all classes of property or to split the rate, shifting the burden towards the commercial, industrial, and personal property from the residential class. Generally, an 80% residential versus 20% CIP share of the overall property makeup is considered the minimum division as to when to consider a split tax rate. This is due to the fact that with a CIP share lower than 20% or in the 20s, it results in a very small benefit to the residential property owner and a much larger burden for the CIP taxpayer without proper support from the tax base. For fiscal year 19, our residential ratio is 83.2. Our CIP ratio is 16.8. I've listed a history here for you to take a look and see how we have shifted through the years. It's interesting to see that back in 2012, we are exactly where we are now. I'm not sure why that is. I just think it's the fluctuation as to, you know, where the growth has been and where the values have changed throughout the town. I have illustrated the shift in residential savings versus the increased CIP burden for the range of options on the following page. For our examples, I've used our current average residential value of $280,000 and a commercial value of $679,000, which is also our new average. Just as an aside, the residential average last year was $258,000, so you can see how that has gone up significantly. And the commercial was $660,000, so the commercial went from $660,000 to $679,000, where the residential went up a lot more. For 2019, just as an aside, the residential class is up 8%, value, where the commercial industrial is only up 2%. Just background. So you can see the shifts if we start, we're expecting a tax rate of approximately $10.95. And the reason that that is lower is because our values are higher. And given everything else being equal, when the values go up, the tax rate does go down. Using the $280,000 as the average, our tax bill would be $3,066 with a 1095 rate. So that is actually up from last year. So even though the tax rate has gone down, the overall average tax bill has gone up a little bit.
It looks like the difference, $67.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, so ironically, with everybody quotes Proposition 2.5, that's only 2.23%, so.
The CIP average tax bill with the 679 value would be about $7,435. If we start to shift, you'll see it at, I put in 10, 20, 30, 40, and up to the maximum of 1.5. At the lowest shift of 1.10, the residential property would save $62, and the commercial industrial bill would increase $740.
Yeah.
At the highest shift of 1.5, the residential property would save $311, and the commercial industrial bill would increase $3,714. You know, I know that we've had a lot of growth over the last, 4 or 5 years, and some of them have been large projects. But the preponderance of our commercial industrial are smaller properties. Otherwise, we wouldn't be seeing an average value of $679,000. It would be in the millions. And then we'd be talking a different story. But for right now, this is where we are. Basically, my summary and considerations: the split rate does not increase revenue in any way, shape, or form. It simply shifts the tax burden. A shift would make Wareham less attractive to new businesses, and the shift would impact summer residents as their personal property taxes would also increase. Many of the town's commercial properties are leased, especially the smaller properties. Landlords typically pass the increase on to tenants, thus impacting our smaller businesses, which are typically locally owned and the type that we're trying to promote and enhance. There would be increased administration costs to implement and maintain split rate valuation and tax billing, and that is a big consideration as well. Are there any questions?
Mary?
Mary, you haven't been through this before, do you have
I
any?
haven't, no. Nope, I'm just learning. So I have nothing right now. I might butt in a minute.
No, this is, sort of the pro forma thing we've done year after year, so.
No, I want to make a little observation, though. So if we went with 1.20, right, the residents would save $126 based on that number you used, and it could cost the commercials another $1,480 a year.
Pretty much, yep.
So, it's not, we're not far off when you think about it. I mean, that's an extra $1,400 for a business to handle is pretty insignificant, in my opinion, for a year's worth of business, you know what I mean? And,
I would disagree,
But-
because we're not talking $1-million businesses.
well, we're talking $695,000, which is our average, is what you're
That's
saying.
the average.
Yeah, so that's the average, yeah, so, okay. So you think a business that's worth $10 million couldn't afford more money?
No, I think that if we had an average business or CIP value of $1 million, we'd be talking a different story. But I think that for the savings for the residential to burden an extra $1,500 on a small local,
See, I disagree with that. I tell you what, I totally disagree with that, because $1,400 is not that much money when you come right down to it. I mean, $1,400, you know what? I probably pay for a few of my kids in Christmas time, $1,450. It's not a serious amount of money when you come right down to it. Now, look, I don't know that we're there yet, I'm just saying. But we're pretty close to where it might work out. I mean, if we could get that down, I'll tell you what, if that was 1,000 to 126, I'd go with it all.
For a $60 savings,
I'd go for $126 savings.
for 126.
$126 savings. We're trying to get $200 out of those same people right now for a school. If they imagine if we gave them back $126. See what I'm saying? So, yeah, I mean, you know, I know what you're saying, but, and look, let me tell you, $1,480 a year isn't gonna stop a business that's gonna make money from coming here. Just
Okay,
isn't.
Well, the other thing that you gotta think about, though, is what it's gonna cost to do this.
What do you mean by that?
What it's gonna cost to do that type of a program. We're gonna need more personnel. It takes more time.
Why do you need more personnel? It's just a change in the bill.
No, it's not just a change in the bill, it's a change in the valuation.
Yeah.
Complete change in the valuation.
Well, you're gonna go from 1 to 1 to 1 to 1.20. Actually, I think that's the number I used, 1.20.
Patrick, everything that we do, whenever we have to make a change like that, takes administrative oversight. And right now, we're 4 people, 5 people, 3, 5.
Well, I mean, I'm not gonna let that stop me from trying to save residents money, I can tell you that right now.
Yes,
So,
what I'm also saying is that when we factor this type of thing in, we have to factor that in as well, and that's something we'd have to look into.
all I know is it's a savings of the residents of $126 on the numbers you handed me. Okay, so I'm just saying, I disagree with what you're saying. It's as simple as that. And at some point, very soon, if we can up this number, and if this, like I said, if this was 1,000 or 126, in a minute, I would vote for it. In that respect, and I wouldn't vote for the 1-for-1. But, you know, we've been talking about this for years, and, you know, we're just asking people now to vote for a big school project. And we've been talking about money everywhere, and there isn't any money around. And sometimes, businesses who come here and make their money off of us and everything else have to kick in a couple of bucks. It's as simple as that. And I don't have a problem with telling them that, and you know what? And you know what? Most of them would probably say, yeah, all right. I guess so. So, I mean, I just happen to disagree with that. But at any rate, I'm willing to go with the 1-to-1 and this time, but next year, better watch out.
You want to speak?
Yeah, I mean, the Department of Revenue guidance says you need to get up to 20% before you start contemplating a split tax rate. And all I see over the past 2, 4, 6, 8 years is just a ping pong ball going up, basically back and forth over the fence, over the net rather, at 18%. Sometimes we're on this side, sometimes we're on that side. We
Pretty
just
much.
can't seem to bump it up to the 20% they recommend. You know, this town did a lot of dumb things 10 years ago when we didn't pay attention to the Department of Revenue. I don't want to start getting stupid right now.
Well, the Department of Revenue doesn't say anything about that you have to be 2060 to have a tax rate like that.
No, they don't say you
There's
have
many
to.
towns that are way different than that.
Okay, thank you. The way we're going to do it, we'll vote on it right now, but just so everybody understands, the normal way we do things is 80-20 is when you start to look at it. It's been that way for quite a while. There's a simple reason for it. It works by dynamics, by numbers, et cetera. Yes, we have an increase in cost, which has nothing to do with the tax rate. As far as the school goes, it's a separate piece that gets on there, and every city and town has these issues. They don't make their tax rate adjust in that way to lessen a burden or not at this point. Because we have schools that are 50, 60 years old and they're replacing, I'm not going to sit there and play around with the tax rate at this particular time, because the basis of why we do it is not there yet. We'll discuss it during the year, and next year we'll see where we're at. But unfortunately, our growth is mostly in residential rather than commercial. So at this point here, I'm going to ask for a vote if there's no other discussion. I think we also have to ask the public if anybody's here, since
It's a hearing.
we have anybody in the public who wants to discuss the split rate for the tax rate, or leave it 1-to-1? Don't see any hands. Anybody for? Anybody here against? Okay. I'm going to ask for a vote on this particular piece at this time.
I move we approve the 1-to-1 residential tax rate, residential commercial tax rate.
Need a second?
Second.
Motion by Patrick, second by Peter. All in favor?
The single rate.
Right,
Single
voting for
rate,
the single
yes.
rate.
Sorry, single rate.
Single
1-to-1, single rate.
Single rate,
Mary?
1-to-1.
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Alan, yes. We're going to continue the hearing.
Need a motion to continue.
Yeah,
Motion to continue.
I understand we don't have a meeting set for next Tuesday. Jackie, do we have any idea whether that would be enough time, or?
I'm working on it,
Uh,
hoping, and Alan is going to,
I'm going to call for probably the next day or so. Meeting will probably not meet, since we're not meeting next Tuesday. I'll put something together once the board gives me a time frame that works for everybody.
Okay, well, do we need to do a
You
date certain?
You don't need a date certain.
Mr. Bowen?
Maybe just identify where the public can be notified of the continued hearing. So
Yeah,
move to continue to the time, date, and place posted on the town website in addition to the regular posting.
We'll post it electronically as well. So
Yeah,
it's
it
in the
works.
3 different spots. Basically, at the clerk's office, will be posted outside of the billboard as well, plus electronically.
Yeah.
Whatever room is available to us at the time.
Okay, move to continue.
keep you in the loop,
Yeah.
Alan.
Once you know you're at that point. So the reason we're doing that, so the public understands, is we need to set our tax rate so we can send bills out, et cetera. So as soon as the second half of this process is done, we can then go ahead and do our tax rate.
Move to continue as specified.
Second.
Motion by Peter, second by Mary.
Yes.
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 Yes, hearing's continued. Thank you very much. Sorry we tied you up so long, Jackie.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie.
Right.
Okay,
Thank you.
Library
Thank you for coming in.
next we have the hearing on Candlepaper Lane. This is pretty straightforward.
You want to do the appointment first?
No, I want to just get the hearing for Candlepaper Lane
We have a lot of
done.
hearings.
And I want to get the dog hearings done, then we'll go back. We have people here waiting, so.
Candle
Paper
Paper Lane, yeah.
This is just the process that we basically, the board will vote to go ahead and consider accepting the layout. What the process is, we just vote to start the process, and then goes to the planning board to come back with information. They have usually, I think it's 30 days, and then we make a decision if we want to put it on either the spring of 2019 or the fall of 2019 town meeting.
Is this a new road? Is this brand new?
No, sir.
No.
For the record, I'm Bob Rogers with GAF Engineering, representing Bill Cornish this evening.
Evening, Bob.
So, Candlepaper Lane, it's about a 1,700-foot dead-end road off of Paper Mill Road, and the construction has been completed since 2007. Our office submitted the required plans, a description of the roadway and easements, a list of everyone on the street signed off, and there's also a letter in the file from municipal maintenance
Anybody wanna
recommending
see that?
acceptance.
Someone else will.
You want to see it?
So,
Okay.
Maybe Marion, something?
Is there any public, I mean, private sewerage or anything like that on site, or is it all?
I believe it's septic and municipal water.
Perfect, thanks.
Just so you know, Bob, what we do is, even though it's done back in 2007, they'll have to meet whatever the current code is now that we have as of, 2018. We just did I think a project like this, that actually a town meeting got pulled because the residents did not want to pay the extra money from when they did their project like 12 years ago to bring it up to current code.
Okay.
So I'm hoping everybody understands that just because the road's been built, they think it's okay, it may not be.
Understood.
Thank you. I'll need a motion.
Okay, a motion to approve the layout, not to approve the layout, but to
Approve the
approve the
it's basically
layout process.
acceptance and layouts.
Acceptance, yeah.
That's all we do. Motion by Patrick, second by Peter. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Nice to see you, Bob. next dog hearings. First one is Roan Ferguson.
They're not here, and the card didn't come back.
We have not got a card back from the people that year ago.
I did not see them outside either, so.
We don't have the certified mail return receipt card attached to that. I did call the office today to check, and they said they were there, but this one isn't. So I think at this point, we should
Gonna have to get them served. if
just
you-
continue the hearing to a later date and reserve notice.
Open the hearing first, then.
Should we open the hearing?
I don't think it's a good idea without the,
No,
So we're gonna
Don't
have
have
to
the
reserve
cards.
and go through the whole process.
comes up in the hearing.
yep.
Have to have somebody serve them,
You
okay?
wanna make a note?
Yeah.
Have Mr. Short do that.
These things just can't go on the agenda until either you or the clerk see the green card. This is the second or third time this has happened. It's just gonna have to be, internally, you're just gonna have to say no until we see the green cards.
Okay. We have another one, Pam Villa, okay.
The door.
In accordance with the provisions of Chapter 140, Section 157 of Massachusetts General Laws, you are notified that a public hearing will be held before the Board of Selectmen on Tuesday, November 6, 2018, regarding a dog owned and kept by you. I move we open the public hearing.
Second.
Second,
Tony?
yes.
Mary? Peter?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes,
Alan? Okay,
I have to go to the bathroom, so can you just,
excuse me.
I'll be right back. But you can do the thing. Just
I
keep
can
going.
do the thing, fine. Okay, Rich, you want to swear everybody in first, I imagine?
Would everyone who intends to testify stand and raise your right hand, please?
Anybody for,
Yeah,
both ways?
if you're going to say anything one way or the other, thanks. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you. You may be seated.
Okay, actually, the party, whoever would. for the
Yeah, let's
dog
go ahead and,
should
well,
come
actually, we read the complaint into the record, so pass it over to me and I'll do it well.
up. All right, you want a speed read? Go for it.
No, these I don't speed read. Let's see. The complaint itself reads, Commonwealth of Massachusetts, complaint of vicious or barking dogs, Section 157, Chapter 140, General Laws. This correspondence is dated October 1st, 2018. I hereby make complaint hereon that dogs owned or harbored by Pam Mavilia, 21 Redskin Trail, Groton, Mass. Alternate address, Pam Mavilia, 10 Cape Ave, Wareham, Mass. Is a nuisance by reason of vicious disposition. The narrative reads, on September 30th, 2018, the dog, described as a 2-year-old male bully blue pit bull named Berry, owned or cared for by Pam Mavilia, attacked a small dog described as a 7-year-old long-haired Chihuahua named Captain Jack, inflicting serious injury. The owner of Captain Jack reported that while she was walking her dog on Sunday, September 30th, the other dog owner began approaching her. The dog, Berry, was being walked on leash by Ms. McCarthy. Jack's owner then picked her dog up in her arms to protect it from the oncoming dog. The other dog approached and at first did not appear to display aggression. Then, without warning, it grabbed Jack out of her arms by the hind quarter, pinning the small dog to the ground. Ms. McCarthy reported that when she was able to free her dog from the mouth of the dog, she saw the severity of its injuries. She immediately transported her dog to the CCVS hospital in Bourne, where it was treated for a series of injuries described as multiple fractures to the right shoulder, ribs, and a deep puncture to the hindquarters. The medical staff at CCVS has recommended amputation of the right front leg. This complaint is made under the penalties of perjury. Complainant's signature and address, Cheryl Gorviat Dill, Wareham Animal Control Officer, 54 Marion Road. So now I guess we would hear the report from Animal Control.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. My name is Officer Kimball with the Wareham Department of Natural Resources. Essentially, the complaint that ACO Gorvat Dill has given to you all is the same report that she has this evening. It should be noted that the dog did need its leg to be amputated. I do have pictures which I will show to all of you. Additionally, I have the owner of Captain Jack here, as well as Mrs. Mavilia. And I also have a list of recommendations from the animal control officer that she would like to see imposed on the dog owned by Miss Mavilia.
Go ahead.
She requests that the dog be confined outdoors in a securely enclosed and locked pen. When the dog is removed from the premises of the owner, the dog shall be securely and humanely muzzled and restrained with a chain or tethering device not to exceed 3 feet in length. That the dog only be walked by an adult 18 years or older. The dog owner provides proof of insurance coverage for the dog, and that the owner provides animal control with information by which the dog may be identified throughout its lifetime.
Okay.
Sorry. Want to have the people who will come up first?
Yeah, at this point, is the owner of the dog that was injured in the alleged attack here? You've previously been sworn up. Would you come up, please? Identify yourself and tell us in your own words what happened. Yes, please do.
My name's Carol McCarthy. I live at 37 Kingwood Street in Parkwood Beach. I took my 2 dogs, the Chihuahua and my Lab, for a walk, and I was at the corner of Cape Ave and Bayside when PM had called me, and I stopped. She came across the street with her 2 dogs. Her dog Berry was beside me, and next thing, I don't know, Jack was being pulled out by the back of my arms. I had to pull him by his harness to get my own dog, and as I picked him up, he was still trying to get my dog. And I could see that Jack's shoulder wasn't right, and he was yelping and trying to bite me because he was in so much pain.
What was the lab you were with doing at this time?
The Lab, I don't even know. She followed me. I ran to my neighbor's house, Mike Dowd's, screaming for him to help me. And he has a fenced-in yard, so both my dogs were in the yard.
Okay.
Question, all the dogs involved were all not on leashes? They were running free?
I had Jack on a leash. Shiloh, I had it around my neck because I was going to put it on her.
And the dog in question that attacked was on a leash?
Yes.
Obviously, there were some significant veterinary bills incurred here. Who paid for those?
Their homeowners are supposed to pay for it.
At the time of the incident, did Mrs. Mavilia make any offer
She did
to
say
pay
she-
for the care of the dog?
Yes.
Okay, that's good.
Any questions, Tony? Mary? Patrick?
No, I wasn't here, so I can't
Yeah.
ask those questions.
Is there anything further you'd wish to add? You've heard the recommendations from the animal control officer. Is there anything you'd like to add at this point in time?
The day before, Saturday, the dog was loose in my yard. And I was, concerned about the dog getting loose.
Mhm. Okay. Is there anybody else, other than the owner of the dog, who wishes to speak as a witness or offer any further testimony? Sir, were you previously sworn?
No, he wasn't.
Stand up, please, so the town council can swear you in.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you. Come on up.
Yep, come on up to the microphones. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if you would, I do have one additional letter that I received this evening from a neighbor, Mrs. Cheryl DiCaprio. It's a notarized letter. She's from 36 Kingwood Street. It's dated November 5th. To whom it may concern, my dog Violet was attacked by Barry while walking in the neighborhood while on a leash. The owner, Pam Mavilia, had Barry on a leash also, but was struggling to pull him off. I was able to pull Violet, finally, struggling to pull her off. Violet was not harmed physically, though it was an awfully frightening experience. Sincerely, Cheryl A. DiCaprio of 36 Kingwood Street.
Can I ask you, have you ever had any other calls or complaints?
Other calls and complaints? Not that I believe so.
Thank you.
I did not see that in our log, other than this one with Mr.
Go ahead,
McCarthy.
sir.
Mike Dowd, 14 Bayside Avenue.
Please speak into the microphone.
Yeah, bring it right up to you and
Yeah,
speak
for the
loudly.
board.
Come here.
Exactly.
14 Bayside Avenue, Michael Dowd. And it was horrific. And it was bloody murder that I heard, screams. And now Jack's, cute little gimp dog. So, he's living, but it was really shocking. And so we brought Carol and the dogs into the yard, and we couldn't get near Jack because he was in such pain. And then things calmed down, and Carol was able to get over to the hospital. So it was just like it stated in the thing. The dog was really went at her, vicious, and I know that if he had done that to my dog, that dog would be dead, and I'd get arrested. But
Yeah.
Most likely.
Yeah. You'd be having a hearing before a different authority.
That's it for me. Yeah.
Thank you very
Okay.
much, sir.
To the lady who just walked in, did you come here to offer testimony in regard to the dog hearing tonight, or stand up, please be sworn in by town council?
Could you raise your right hand, please? Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Thank you. You may be
Okay,
seated.
please be seated, speak directly into the microphone, and please provide your testimony.
Name, please, and address as well.
Yes.
I'm Carol's daughter. My name's Lauren McCarthy, and I live at 37 Kingwood Street. I'm sorry I missed the beginning of this, so I don't know what was said, but basically this was the second attack on Jack, my mother's Chihuahua. The first attack was June 22nd. My boyfriend was dog sitting for us while we were at a family wedding in Vermont, and I was on the phone with him it's about 9:30 at night, and I just heard a bunch of shouting and screaming, and the phone call dropped. And when I was able to speak to my boyfriend again, he said Jack was attacked by a pit bull, and it was it's a pretty distinguished dog, so I knew which dog it was. And, no hard feelings. It was okay. Jack was fine. But this is the second time. So I love dogs. I really do. But this is the second time that he has hurt my dog. And he hurt another neighbor's dog. So, I don't know. I have a 1-year-old nephew who's mobile now and walking. This is a big pit bull, And I've had bigger dogs. I have English bulldogs and boxer mix. I get that, but Pam's a tiny woman, and this dog is probably weighs more than her. She can't control the dog.
Okay,
So that's what I have to say.
great, thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to speak in this other than the dog owner? This gentleman.
I'm the owner.
You're the owner? You're both the owners?
Yes.
Okay, why don't you come on up and identify yourselves, please?
Hi, my name's Pam Mavilia, and I was...
Gonna pull that towards you, not away, okay, please?
No,
Thank you.
It won't
I
bite.
know, it's scary, but...
I know. I am part owner of the dog. The dog was in my possession under my, care that weekend. Barry he's a very big dog. He is very intimidating. I am just so upset over what happened to Jack. I've apologized a zillion times. When this happened, and Barry he walked up and he pulled that dog out of the back of her arms and pulled it down to the ground. the only thing I have to say is, he did not bite the dog. He did not, physically rip the dog's leg off. The dog's shoulder, from hitting the ground, it broke in 3 places, and that's why they had to remove.
I mean, he didn't grab the dog and rip his arm
Right,
and hurt it.
it
It was a
wasn't
terrible
a
accident, but
mauling.
that's what happened.
But one second, just with these, listen, hold on.
Whoa, don't talk to each other.
One person at a time. This is a public hearing. I understand this is emotional and people get upset, but to the extent that there is anything that anybody would like to say in rebuttal to what these folks have to say, then they can come back up.
Okay, all right. So, yes, and I did. I totally agree. He ripped the dog. The dog had a puncture hole in its rear hind section where the dog caught it and pulled it to the road.
Have they seen the pictures? Have they seen the pictures?
No, I haven't. I
Should give
haven't.
the pictures.
I did go directly to the vets and
Where are the
paid.
pictures? They should be in there.
Tony's got them. Yeah, Tony, could just hand them back to them so that they have an opportunity.
To view the picture, please.
That's right. They wanted to do exploratory surgery on the puncture wound of the dog. They have a picture of the dog that they sent to me, I don't have it with me, where they had shaved the dog, and it has a puncture hole where one tooth mark went into it. But they wanted to do exploratory surgery at the emergency vets to see if the dog had any injuries, internal injuries. Which, from what I gather, the dog had a hernia, but other than that, there were no
Should look at the rest
other
of the
internal
pictures.
injuries.
Yeah, I would review all the pictures.
Yeah, that's a
That's a
terrible
very
picture.
sad picture.
I mean,
But
that's-
just one of you at a time, please. It gets too confusing for a transcript.
I'm like mortified about this. My heart goes out to these people. I feel terrible. I'm doing everything I possibly can to try to make the situation, as least painful as I can or tolerable for these people. I've called my homeowners. I went directly down. I paid for $1,400 immediately so the dog could get looked at. I do not take my dog out anymore unless there is a muzzle on it, just because I just don't ever want to see anything like that happen again. This has never been in my dog's nature, ever. He has no other incidents or anything else, and whatever they're talking about.
Look, 1 second.
this other woman- oh, I'm
I don't know what he's talking about,
Look,
the other woman.
you'll have to identify yourself, please.
Lavilia. And I don't know what she's talking about, the other person, because there's never been another instance of him attacking anything. If the dog was here right now, he'd be licking you, jumping all over you, driving you crazy. I don't know why this happened. It was a crappy thing. He must have a problem with Jack. But just as long as you know that the reason for his shoulder, and it's terrible that he's been, deformed like this, that it wasn't like the dog ripped his arm off or anything like that. He grabbed him, when he hit the ground, it slapped him on the ground and broke his shoulder. It wasn't from a mouth.
Well,
It was a terrible,
I think-
rotten thing. I just don't want
I
you
know,
to think
but
that he
looking
ripped
at
off
this-
his leg,
I think with dogs, as with people, we don't allow a thin skull defense here. And Attorney Bowen will know what I mean. So you do admit that this incident took place?
Absolutely.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
And you don't dispute that the injuries occurred as a result of your dog's conduct?
Right,
Okay.
correct.
Again, I'm going to ask Officer Kimball, are you sure what you're asking for is sufficient?
I've consulted with ACO Govet-Dill, and that's the recommendation of our department. But as a rebuttal to Ms. Mavilia, I have the vet report here. Granted, I'm not a veterinarian, so I can't understand all their scientific talk, but under the assessment part, it's noted a dog bite wound over the right shoulder, a right scapular fracture, dog bite wound with significant pocketing over left flank and dorsum, and another scientific terms that I wouldn't even be able to pronounce right now.
Well, I think the board is comfortable with predicating our decision on the fact that all of these injuries occurred as a consequence of the attack.
Are we going to consider this a dangerous dog, because he hasn't done that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's one recommendation that we would have, is that the dog cared for by Pam Mavilia be deemed a dangerous dog pursuant to MGL 140, Section 157, and the Town of Wareham Bylaw Division 7, Article 2, Section 15, for inflicting serious injury to a domesticated animal without provocation.
Could you read again, once again, the recommendations?
Yes. The recommendations of ACO Gorvat Dill would be that the dog be confined outdoors in a securely enclosed and locked pen. When the dog is removed from the premises of the owner, the dog shall be securely and humanely muzzled and restrained with a chain or tethering device not to exceed 3 feet in length. The dog only be walked by an adult 18 years or older. The owner provides proof of insurance coverage for the dog, and that the owner provides animal control with information by which the dog may be identified throughout its lifetime.
Thank you. I would ask the owners, would you agree to abide by these stipulations? Should the board...
I would. I never want to see this happen again. You know, since the day this happened, I have muzzled my dog. He is not off my property unless...
Please.
This woman here.
You have an opportunity to come up afterwards to the extent that there's any.
Everybody stop for a minute.
I know,
We're gonna do
really,
this
don't
civilly,
feed into that.
or it's not gonna end up pleasantly for
Right.
everybody.
I know. I don't want to have any problems with my neighbors
Just-
either.
no, I just-
Because the dog
everybody's-
can't keep her mouth shut.
All right,
But that's
Sir?
enough.
okay.
I'm
That's
not
just
gonna put up with it.
provocation.
Okay? Thank you. How much does the dog weigh?
I have a picture of him right here if
I
you
just
want to
want
see
to know
him.
what the officer has. I'm just curious as to what the dog is strength-wise versus whether a person has enough strength to control the dog or not
He
walking.
weighs about 90 pounds.
90-pound
Yeah.
Yep.
pit bull?
Right here.
I don't think you can control that dog if he decides to go somewhere.
Oh, believe me, I've had the dog for a while, and, you know, I can control the dog. He does have the muzzle.
suggest
got away and also, I'm looking into putting a electric collar on him.
All right,
Yes, we're going to fry
I
him.
figure while he's in my yard area, if he has an electric collar on, type of thing, you know, he's never out by himself, he's always with, you
Well,
know.
the conditions that the animal control officer read were that he would have to be confined outdoors in a secure enclosure.
He's going to be in the house. If he's outside, he's going to be in a leash being walked and back in the house. He's not going to, he doesn't go out.
I just want to suggest that putting an electric collar and an electric fence around is not going to be sufficient.
That's not what she's talking about. She's talking about a training collar, that if he gets out of line, she can drop him to his knees.
Right.
That's what we're talking about, which is not a bad thing.
Yeah, I've had German shepherds that think those things tickle them, so,
No, they don't.
My labs are the same way. They thought it was a fun toy.
yeah.
Yeah, but there's
Do you have
different ones
anything
you
new
buy.
you want to add? When you come back up again?
Yes, come up again, please, and remember, your comments would be, at this point in time, ma'am, would just be to rebut something that they said.
Thank you.
Yep, well, just please sit down. Yeah, please sit down there.
All right, thank you.
There was another incident in August during the heat wave when I was walking my black lab and my brother's German Shepherd when their dog
Thank you.
snapped their cable runner and charged at me. And I had to enter back in their yard. And the day before Barry attacked Jack, he was loose and was sniffing around my trash can. My brother had to yank the harness off of him, well, yank him so he would climb off or get off the trash can.
Okay, thank you.
Never made aware of any of this.
Jimmy,
Wait,
well,
No, not back and forth.
remember, you don't.
Not back and forth.
Please, people.
I know it's emotional.
Can't talk
It is
to
very
each other.
emotional.
and we
You
understand
cannot
that.
talk to each other. Okay? Up here.
I will, all right, so,
I will ask you to leave the room if you do it again.
okay, I'm sorry.
All right, go ahead.
The incident when Barry snapped the cable, that was in August, and I was the only one involved. So that was with me. My brother told me that Barry ran out of the yard and was in the trash can like the day before he attacked Jack. So I was not there to witness that. I don't know if that's true. My brother's not here, but
Okay.
I can 100% say with certainty that he snapped the cable in the middle of August. And because Pam, her husband Mike, and her sister Diane were there, because we had to trap Rosie, my brother's German Shepherd, on the deck to get control of Rosie, because I ended up losing control because he snapped the metal cable because your dog charged at me. 'Cause
Okay, I think we get the picture. Thank you for your testimony.
Please?
Yes, you can.
My dog is in love with this black lab that they own.
It's my
He
dog.
can't, whatever it is, the black dog, he can't get enough of her and her herself, you know. Every time he wants to go anywhere, he wants to go over to that house. The German Shepherd, they play. It's a beautiful dog, and they play together like crazy. They've never had a vicious thing. They play until it's sickening how they play. They're gonna get themselves exhausted. Lately, they're not. because we've had this incident.
I'm not sure that any of this is too relevant to what we have at issue here.
Trying to say, she's trying to paint a picture of the dog like he's some vicious
I love
attacking
dogs.
dog.
Once again,
I'm speaking to you.
ma'am, do you have anything further to add at this point?
It's just the fact that he was not aggressive towards Shiloh or Rosie that day in August, but he snapped a metal cable. He broke it in half and charged at us.
Okay, fair enough.
He's very powerful, is what I'm saying.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay,
All right.
thank you very much. Why don't you take a seat back out there, and we'll
All these things he said, we're definitely gonna do with the leash and everything, and even more to control this dog and make him, but he's.
Well, that depends on the vote of the board here. We have discretion in what we decide to do here. This is just a recommendation. And once we close the hearing portion of this, I assume we're going to be deliberating these conditions.
Everybody's all set, right?
Yeah, I think we are.
Close the hearing, please. Make the motion.
Move to close the hearing.
Move to close the hearing. Second.
Motion by Mary, second by Tony. Tony?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes,
I'm going to abstain because I wasn't here for the.
he was out for part of it.
I had to go out. But that doesn't mean I can't ask questions. I'm just not going to vote on it.
No, it's 401.
Thank you. All right, you guys can go sit down. We're going to deliberate now.
Thank you.
Yes.
Do you have a copy of of what you're asking for?
I do.
Can you bring it up and give it to Peter, please?
I'll read it into the record.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
then
The record, then we can discuss.
we'll make that the initial motion, and then we can discuss it.
Thank you.
Okay, I move the Board of Selectmen, with regards to Berry, follow the Animal Control Officer's recommendations as follows. First, that the dog be confined outdoors in a securely enclosed and locked pen. 2, when the dog is removed from the premises of the owner, the dog shall be securely and humanely muzzled and restrained with a chain or tethering device not to exceed 3 feet in length. That the dog only be walked by an adult 18 years or older. 3rd, that the dog owner provides proof of insurance coverage for the dog. 4th, that the owner provides animal control with information by which the dog may be identified throughout its lifetime. And that is typically an
Chip.
implant, a chip, or a tattoo.
You might already have one, but if, all right, so you got to get them chipped, okay? And then you give them the information.
Okay. So we need a second, and then I guess we discuss.
Second.
Motion by Peter, second by Tony.
Yeah.
Any comments? Tony?
No.
Mary?
You know, we have people that, they're under oath, and we get 2 different sides to the story every single time, so that makes it really hard. And we have other incidents that supposedly happened, but we have nobody's ever called animal control or anything, so we can't verify that this has happened. Anybody can get up and say anything. So this makes it difficult for us. If we did have other instances where animal control had been called and the dog was loose and stuff like that, I would have had probably an additional recommendation on top of this. But right now, even though the dog was really injured, those pictures are terrible. This is awful, but I'm leaning towards going along with the recommendation of animal control.
Yeah, I'll say to the owners of the dog, you're extremely fortunate that the animal control officer made this recommendation. We typically tend to follow her recommendations in this regard. Had she decided to recommend euthanasia of the dog, I'm guessing this board would have followed along with that, so you can thank her for the fact that your dog might actually survive this evening.
Patrick?
Yeah, see, this is probably, out of all the dog hearings we've done, this is the worst one I've seen, to be honest with you. The dog was in the worst condition that I have seen of any of the hearings we've had. Most of them are pretty minor scuffles and scratches, and even then, they deserve to be confined. So this is pretty serious, and I think you're very lucky that she did not ask for euthanasia, so I would suggest that you follow every one of the recommendations to the letter, because, please, that's fine, but please do, okay? Because it won't be good. It just won't be good.
I totally understand that. And again, I can't apologize enough for what happened to the dog. I'm just as
Okay.
upset about it as everybody else, you know.
Please follow through with your insurer and make sure that these people compensated for the expenses they incurred.
Thank you.
I just want to comment that I'm still a little concerned about the restraint as far as the ability. So whatever is done, I want the Officer Kimball or whatever to actually inspect whatever is going to be there as far as pen, as far as muzzle, as far as leash, et cetera, to make sure you feel comfortable with it. If not, then come back to us and let us know.
Okay.
Because I have a 3-foot leash, doesn't give you much fulcrum. So a dog with 90 pounds, that particular breed with the strength it has, I don't think I could control a dog with a 3-foot leash personally. It's okay. I don't want to, no. Okay?
I do have one more thing to add. I know that Ms. Mavilia has an address in Groton. The order, when it's sent to us from the board, it will go to Groton. The order from this board is valid throughout the entire Commonwealth.
Understand. Anything else?
No.
We need a motion to go.
Nope, we already have the motion in a second from Tony. The motion was to adopt the recommendations I read into the record. There you go. Call for the vote.
Or individual?
Do it as a roll call, because...
Tony?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Patrick?
Abstain.
Abstaining. Alan is yes, 401. I hope we never have to see you again.
Yes.
I apologize to the people who had their dog injured, sorry. This is one of the most unpleasant things this board has to do since the police decided to give it to us.
Yeah.
Not by choice, I can tell you that. Most of us here are dog owners, so it's really difficult. Thank you all.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, officer.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, let's go back, Patrick. Appointments, interviews. We're holding up
Okay,
the
then.
library trustees. I
Okay.
apologize.
That's fine. All right, we have an appointment of a library trustee, Mallory Callahan. She here? Come on down. How do you say it, Callahan? Callahan? Okay. Hi, Mallory.
Hello.
So you want to be a library trustee?
Yes.
Okay. You have anything you want to introduce or talk to us about or anything?
I'm not really sure.
Neither are we, so feel bad.
Neither are we.
Go ahead, Patrick.
All right, so I hope you enjoy it, and thanks for stepping up. I move that we approve the appointment to the member, as a member of the Library Board of Trustees for a term to expire no later than June 30th, 2021, Mallory Callahan.
Second.
Motion by Patrick, second by Tony. Any questions from the board? None heard, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500. Should we pick up your paperwork at the Selectmen's office tomorrow? And you have to go down to the clerk's office and get sworn in, or sworn at, depending on where.
Clerk's closed after the election, yep.
That's right, I'm sorry.
Thursday,
Thursday or the following Monday, whatever's easy for you.
yep.
Tuesday.
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, that's right, Veterans Day, yeah, don't show up Monday.
Tuesday would be great, so I'll be there.
There you go, perfect. We'll get you in there eventually, don't you worry.
Tuesday.
Sounds good, I'll be there.
Okay, thank you very much for stepping up, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, so next up...
Yay, something good tonight, I like it.
There you go. Next up is the discussion, is lated with a discussion with the people from the Greater New Bedford Community Health Center. That's not going to happen tonight.
Just a quick comment. The reason I put this on the agenda, it's just down the street from here, the actual facility. Most people have no idea what it is or what they do there. They actually have a primary care physician there now. They've expanded their services. It's not an urgent care center, but it is a center that takes people in. If you don't have insurance, they can arrange to get insurance, et cetera. I'm going to try and get them back as soon as possible. They asked that I not do this tonight because they're actually filing for some paperwork for some grants, and they only have a couple of days to get it done, so they've asked for an extension.
Okay.
It's an important piece for the town, so I think we have to get them back in.
Okay, host community agreement for retail marijuana by Globe Street Management. We have in front of us, everybody has a copy of the agreement, or have you read it?
I have it in the, yeah, in the email.
Electronically to everybody.
All right, so I have a question, I don't know if anybody else does.
Well, I was going to start off and wanted to ask Mr. Sullivan, since we...
Let's ask Mr. Sullivan, you and I talked about it earlier.
I noticed that the payment was delayed 14 months for some reason, the first payment on the contract.
Actually, what I'm looking for from the board is not to vote and approve this. I'm looking for the location. You
Okay.
needed to vote
We
the
already
location.
did the location.
Yeah, so if you're
Last
fine
week.
with it, so.
Last time.
I haven't been involved. This was brought from Ken.
Okay.
But I would say, frankly, I would push all of these back to the first day they start earning, because
Yeah, month by month, whatever it is, yeah, absolutely. I can't see having a 14-month delay. If you don't make any money, you don't pay any money.
well, no, that's the exact opposite of, I would prefer it goes on and lasts longer thereafter.
Yeah, the other piece that I was reading through, it talks about, filings with the Cannabis Control Commission, but from a standpoint as an accountant, doing auditing and stuff, normally you would have something in the contract about the submission of actual, dollar amounts as far as sales, all business as far as they're to certify what they're paying on is actually, can be proven, paper-wise.
How you doing?
Pretty good, how you
Yeah,
doing?
we usually get quarterly results from these.
Yeah, but I want to make sure it's a certified, whatever it is,
Well, then you're going, if, after every quarter, if we want to get certified, you're going to wait probably another 90 days thereafter.
My concern is that in business, you can have more than one set of books. I
Okay.
hate to put it that way.
Well, go ahead.
Long
Can
as
I clarify?
There's
Yeah.
different ways of accounting.
Let's ask him. Go ahead.
That's fine. We have no problem showing you the exact results that we sent to the
Yeah.
state, so that's not an issue. To your prior point, you'll notice in the agreement that we're paying 3% of gross revenues, and that's what when you refer to the 14th month when it starts, that's that you can see what happens after a year. You'll also notice there's an additional annual donation.
We understand that.
And the first donation is the minute we sign this agreement of $50,000. So you're actually getting a payment immediately
Okay.
of $50,000.
Why do you need the 14 months, though? I mean, it's based on 3% of your gross, so, I mean, if you paid it every month, what's the difference? If you didn't earn anything, you don't
Well,
pay anything.
but it requires sort of an accounting every 30 days if I have to pay it every month, as opposed to, I could just do it once a year. And that's why we're trying to give you the money up front as well, so that you're not just waiting an entire year.
Does that sound reasonable to you, accounting once a month, once a year?
If we've had the other ones give us quarterly.
Yeah.
That's
accounts.
Quarterly, does that sound more reasonable?
We can live with that. Yeah, we can live with
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
There's probably a few things that we would just, there's probably just a few small changes. I'd probably do the 50,000 after July 1 of 19, which is.
So why don't we wait until you...
Which I don't
we'll
think is
come- You don't need to be here for that. I mean, he can come back with whatever he tweaks into this. I mean,
Right.
technically, the town administrator should have got into this, and he just
Yeah.
hasn't had time with town meeting.
Okay.
So the location's okay, everything's okay, we already approved that
Right.
a couple
What-
weeks ago, I think we did.
Yeah, why don't you approve it pending final?
Yeah, okay,
Okay.
we can do that.
I'll take a motion that the host agreement as presented right now, we'll vote on once we have the changes.
So moved.
Second.
I can't make the motion.
Do you want to vote on the, I'm sorry, what was your motion?
That we will hold off on the host agreement, fully approve it until you make whatever changes necessary.
Okay.
No,
No,
I got
you're
a better one. We
yeah,
approve
this-
in concept this agreement,
What are you-
okay? But you're gonna tweak it.
Pending, why
Pending
don't
your
you do
final
just pending
approvals.
my final, if
Approvals.
that's it. So otherwise, we're gonna have the gentlemen come back here, have their attorneys back here. I'm assuming are you attorney or what?
I am.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
you're not cheap. So, okay, so,
Trying to cut your salary.
yeah, so,
I apologize to you, I'm trying to help you, so.
Well, the bottom line,
Subject to town administrator final.
Yeah.
but even when the town administrator makes, the problem, Rich, is if the town administrator makes some changes, they still have to sit there and accept it or not, and they may have to come back because they may not agree with it.
Yeah, if you don't agree, you'd have to come back.
Yeah, I'm sure we can resolve this in a phone call or two.
I understand, but I just want to make sure that's clear.
Yep, that's, well, if they say no to the changes, then we don't have an agreement.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, so it's pretty easy.
That's good. Very good.
So we'll agree to disagree. All right, you gonna modify the motion a little bit?
Yeah, I'd say we can't approve this particular agreement, but in principle, we agree,
Pending Mr. Sullivan's
pending Mr. Sullivan's changes and agreement with the folks, and then we'll make a final vote. So that's what we're doing. So we're gonna, we want you to know that we're in favor of your project. We want you to go forward, and that's what we're saying, but you still have a little bit to work out with the boss over here.
Understood.
No problem.
Okay?
No, not unless you really want to.
I love these meetings, I actually.
No, you wouldn't have to, yeah. No, you don't
We can
have
send
to
you the
come back. If you
televised
want
link.
to, you can.
Thank you.
We're on TV, too.
We already gone through this.
Unfortunately for some.
All right.
I'm a little late to the party, but did we discuss the idea of having a year to get the license incorporated?
We're going to, this has got to be reworked.
We're not gonna wait for 14 months.
Mr. Sullivan hasn't got a chance to actually go over this and deal with it.
Okay.
So we're going to allow them to go back out and do whatever, and then we'll give them a final vote when the time comes.
Okay.
We have a motion, and we have a second.
Yeah.
Peter's gonna
I'll
have to
abstain.
abstain. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
So that-
Abstain?
it's
4
a
zero.
concept, so, thank you.
All right, thank you.
So we got a
Thank you.
great concept. Okay, that was pretty good.
Yep.
It says, discussion of articles for Springtown meeting 2019.
Okay, what I did here was, as I mentioned, probably over the last 7 years, we get through one town meeting and we kind of slack off a little bit because it's the normal thing to do, and next thing you know, the town meeting is up in front of you because of the timeframes, et cetera, and we're, scrambling for hearings and everything else.
Yep, aggravating your wife, doing all that good stuff.
But that's part of the course, that's what I'm supposed to do. So what I would like, I know Mr. Sullivan, I'll be speaking to him, I hope correctly, he's already told his department has to get their budgets in order for Springtown meeting. I think as far as the board here, if we have anything at all we want to bring forth that didn't happen in the fall town meeting or for Springtown meeting, over the next couple of weeks, I'd like to get something down on paper by the beginning of December. So we
Okay.
can actually have things in place. If we bring things, to the planning or zoning or ZBA things we have, they go to Ken, but we need to get it written down on paper so he can work on it, so we don't have this further study, which to me is the same thing as a no.
Yeah, we got to get our sign bylaw changes and
Well,
stuff going.
we tried, but, again, I'm not happy how things worked out, but I want to get ahead of this, not so much as far as, the actual article, the explanation that goes to town meeting, because in my opinion, and I'll express it tomorrow at the Finance Committee meeting, if we don't have a final piece, they should not be printing anything in the warrant that they put out except the base motion. It
Right.
should be blank, and it should say C supplement, because it really was difficult when sitting up there, not
Totally
saying much
agree.
of anything, and there was 3 different people with 3 different documents talking about stuff, and you can understand why it's confusing, but because they don't understand the process. If the warrant had blank and said C supplement, then we would have been okay. It's easy to say because it's hindsight, but that's what should have been done.
One of the things I'd like to do is, I had a long conversation with the Director of Inspectional Services after his proposed Section 530 amendments regarding, derelict boats and trailers and things like that in the yard wound up being further studied. He actually went into court this week on a couple of cases and said, hey, look, it would have been perfect if I'd had this bylaw behind me, because that's exactly what a couple of these properties where the issues are. They've got derelict boats that are rotting through, collecting water, mosquito breeding grounds, rusting out trailers and things like that. And right now, he's just going in under, you've got a junky yard, which of course can sometimes be viewed in the eye of the beholder. One judge might say, yep, that's junky, you gotta clean it up. The next judge might say, yeah, that's not so bad, I've seen worse. And out he goes without some kind of enforcement that he can carry forth against these people. So he's really looking forward to getting that. I know that, there were people at town meeting who spoke up and said, well, I've got a situation where I've got, unregistered vehicles. Look, I just want to get the word out to the public. The inspectors don't have time to ride around and look at things. This isn't a big city inspectional services department. It's not Quincy where you've got 5 local inspectors working under a building commissioner, and they can actually have somebody ride around on the weekends and catch you putting on that illegal deck. Not that now I've just told you how to put on the illegal deck, but nonetheless, or will be. There you go. My point is that they respond to complaints. And so when you call up to complain about a neighbor, they come out and they take a look at the neighbor. So that's what happens here. We don't go around looking for the extra unregistered vehicle. We don't go running around looking for the extra unregistered boat or things like that. We don't have the time or the manpower to do that. What happens is complaints are investigated, so the complainants are the ones who should show up at town meeting and want these things to go through to make the inspectional services department's life easier, so in turn, they can clean up the neighborhood. So that's really what this is about. It's not a gotcha thing where, they're riding around looking to ticket everybody that's got an extra unregistered vehicle.
Thank you. Next is we have, as everybody knows, the jug shop license was supposed to be suspended from December 2nd to January 2nd. The jug shop did appeal our decision.
We suspended it.
We agreed to suspend the suspension.
We did, we suspended the suspension.
What I'm bringing up...
Pending the appeal.
Right, what I brought up again is the appeal is on the 6th of December, if I remember right. We were going to have before us on the 20th of November an application for that license. They're basically selling their liquor license. Another company is coming in to buy it, and then I think it's going to move it. So the discussion here is if we go ahead and this license gets sold, what are we going to do as far as the suspension goes? Where are we looking
I
at?
suggest we vacate the decision.
I'm not asking for a vote right now, but just to put it up front ahead of time.
My understanding is the ABCC, because there is an appeal pending, will hear the appeal regardless.
Correct. They have to.
So we would have to first vacate our decision, and then the appellant would have to withdraw their appeal. Is that correct, Town Council?
Yes.
Which I don't think anybody would have a problem doing, so
I think so.
why don't we have that on the agenda for the 20th as well?
That's what
After we approve a sale.
I agree.
But understand that the present owner is going to have to be the one who withdraws the appeal, not the new owner. Correct?
Yes.
So, Mrs. DePonte will have the pleasure of contacting the ABCC to withdraw her appeal. We will have to inform her of this because I'm guessing she's not exactly sharp on procedural matters.
Be happy with us either.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead, Richard.
perhaps as part of the presentation on the license transfer, maybe there would be a letter withdrawing the appeal submitted as part of that package, which then, if the transfer were approved, the letter would be mailed,
Good idea,
probably from your office.
good idea.
And perhaps we could have town council prepare it so none of us screw it up.
Why not?
Ideas come with a cost.
Okay. Fun night tonight. Send note to...
You should bring that.
Thank you.
Next thing is the discussion of the Route 6 corridor study.
Okay, another one of Alan's specials.
Alan Special.
Okay,
Right there. It says Allen Special.
yes, it does. This has basically been percolating for about 4 or 5 months. Originally, I believe it was Mattapoisett, had asked SERPED, which is our local regional planning agency, to look into the possibility of revamping Route 6. In the Mattapoisett area, if you drive on Route 6, the road is 2 lanes on both sides, but the road kind of sweeps back and forth with a lot of curves, and they've had issues with traffic, et cetera, and accidents. Fairhaven stepped up and showed interest in this as well, and then Marion did, and we were the last ones contacted since the basic project that's possible. This, again, I want to make sure everybody, if they write it in the newspapers, it's not happening. It's a possible discussion of taking Route 6 from Wareham through to Fairhaven and making it a single lane on both sides with a 3rd lane turn. It slows down the traffic, it also takes care of some of the issues, and probably ends up with a bike path along the road, which might be safer. Maybe.
Yeah.
But
I'm buying stock in the local ambulance companies.
Drive your bike in it.
no, if you don't pedal your bike, it is. So there is a public hearing on November 8th, which is a couple days from now, in Town Hall. I believe it's the auditorium. I think it's at 6 o'clock at night, or 6:30 till like 8 or 8:30. They're doing another one in Marion, I believe, on the 14th. But for the one for Wareham, if you're involved, whether you're a business or just a citizen living on Route 6 or traveling it, it'd be a good idea to come take a look, because they're looking for input, for people's feelings, et cetera, on this. So I want to make sure everybody has a chance to say something. This will not happen in like 2 or 3 months either. This will be a long-term project to get approved, if it does. Hopefully not 3 decades, because I won't be here.
35 years for the other one, I don't know.
Yeah.
Shit. I guess if they give us new body parts, maybe we'll last.
Did they open those bids, do you know? I know they sent them out on the 22nd of September. Did they open them yet?
No, they don't take the bids, I think, until spring. They actually get.
I thought they were mailed, I heard they went out on the 22nd. They don't open them till spring?
They won't finalize it probably until close to spring.
I know, because it was supposed to happen in March, right?
Yeah. Anybody have any questions on this at all? Any input you want me to, as I go along with this?
No, just see what it looks like.
It looks like 2 lanes with one in the middle.
So you have,
It's pretty common now to do that.
so two travel lanes and 1 splatter lane, is that what we're going to call it?
Yes.
Well, you know what, it's pretty common. I actually like that little turning lane that they have in the middle. I think it works pretty well. They've been doing it
It
in Rhode
does.
Island for years.
It does when you have a 4-lane road. I'm not so sure with a 2-lane road that people aren't going to take the opportunity to use that as a passing lane nonetheless.
It's possible, we'll see. The bottom line is that what they're doing is, what I think the state is doing really, is they're looking at a lot of what were, major highways, Route 6 was a long time ago, and cutting back. Obviously, they're not gonna try and give us the road, because the answer's gonna be no. But what they're trying to do is take major roads and cut them back, so there's less maintenance, et cetera, everything else to it, and bring the speeds down, make it easier, since 195 really makes Route 6 obsolete as far as high-speed travel.
Well, it definitely does.
So that's what this is all about at the end of the day. Okay?
Used to be the only road. Used to go all the way to, and I remember we used to drive all the way to,
New York
to,
City?
no, well, I used to go all the way to Lincoln Park.
Yes, of course.
All the way to Lincoln Park. I drove on that road the first day it opened, 195, and it was totally fogged in. You couldn't see this far in front of you. And I'm like this, my mother's in the car, and we didn't know we were gonna hit somebody in front of it. It was that fogged. I mean, it was just, I haven't seen it like that since.
Must have been a 1950 Chevy.
Yeah, no, it was a 67 Chevelle.
Okay. Any other business not anticipated 40 hours? Derek, we have something that came in on local charity group of Wareham Tigers or something?
Yeah, the Wareham Tigers, the cheerleaders, are actually going to Disney World. They need to raise funds for them. It's a competition that they've won. You were supposed to be emailed the information.
I got it right here.
Yeah. All right.
I happen to have
Ask them
it.
to come in and fill it out if they could.
Okay.
It says, during the following daylight hours, weekdays 10 a.m. to, it says to 5 p.m. here, it's on these 2 days, but let's see. Weekdays 10 to 8, Saturdays 9 to 6, and then they have 11/7/18 from 10 to 5 through 11/18/18 from 10 to 5, raising money for cheerleaders who finished second, and the New England Championship squad is going to Disney the first week in December, compete for the national championship. And they would like to can on Main Street be in front of the fire station or before the fire station. So that sounds like a lot of time, though.
I don't want kids out on Main Street after dark cannon. That's just a recipe for disaster.
They're not in the street. That's why I asked, are you stopping cars? They said no, they would not be in the street stopping cars.
I think they do it alongside, is
Yeah.
what they do.
Just want to make a point. They've done this, they did this a couple of years ago.
Well,
The Tigers football.
Tigers
It's a football team.
That was the football team, but they physically were out on the street in front of the fire station, stopping cars, asking for money.
Well, we can't have that. We can't have kids on the street
We
like
can
that.
approve this, but we have to make it very clear they can't be out on the
I
street.
agree.
Yeah, they did, I think they had basically passed a boot in front of the fire station.
do.
Yeah, that's fine. I was just concerned that, that they wanted to do things till 8 o'clock at night. I was just thinking kids out in front of the firehouse at 8 o'clock at night.
Well, they did 5. I guess this is probably. I
But even
don't know what
5's
this is.
dark now, so.
But let's say 10 to 5 is what it is. So 10 to 5, 11/18 on the 7th, and 11/18/18. So 11/7/18 and 11/18/18.
That's fine.
So I move we approve it and that they be informed that no kids are allowed to be on the street.
Yep.
And
Second.
Okay, just as a comment, when they did it last time, the fire department was out there with them, helping them with it on the street. So we need to make sure they know that they can't be out there.
Okay. All right.
Motion by Patrick, second by Peter. Any questions on the board? None heard, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500.
And let's congratulate them on an amazing season and moving
Well,
forward.
they're in the playoffs too, so.
Yeah, so,
Yeah, it's amazing.
yeah.
Looking for more points, aren't you?
You know, we do this a lot nowadays. We have a lot of good stuff going on, so.
Yes.
Yeah, nice.
All right, next is the town administrator's report.
All right, folks, after my meeting before this and tonight, I have no appetite to speak anymore.
I don't blame you.
So,
Liaison reports.
Tony, Mary. No.
Well, it's a little.
It'll be too early. The turnout was,
There's a
They
lot
close
of,
at 8.
it's a lot of votes this time. It's going to take a while to count them. Peter.
I'm guessing the turnout is over 8,000. I got a report that it was at 1179 for precinct 6, which is the smallest in town, at 6:30.
Yeah.
So it's going to be probably upwards of 10,000. The presidential election 2 years ago got 12,000 candidates out because everybody hated one or the other of the candidates, so they showed up in pretty good numbers to vote. I don't sense quite as much acrimony in this election, but it was still a pretty big turnout.
Yeah. Patrick, you got anything?
No, I'm not gonna talk anymore
Yeah,
tonight.
I'm not going to say anything either. How about that?
I've had enough. I'm so frustrated and tired as enough.
Okay, consent agenda. I
All
think
right.
we've got some minutes.
I do. All right, so first up, the minutes of September 19, 2017, and I was absent. So Peter, you can make the motion.
Yeah, I'll make the
And
motion.
Alan will have to sign them. Why is Alan signing them?
It's
Oh, this is old,
2017.
that's why, 2017.
old.
That old.
2017, that's why.
How'd they slip?
You make the motion.
Oh, so we got lots of abstentions tonight. Minutes of September 19th, 2017 as presented.
Tony, you second. Motion by Peter, second by Tony. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 302.
All right, I move we approve the July 31st, 2018 regular selectmen's meeting, and everyone was here.
Second.
Motion by Patrick, second by Peter. Any questions? None heard, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500.
Next, I ask that we approve the October 9th, 2018 Board of Selectmen's meeting, and everybody was here.
Second.
Motion by Patrick, second by Peter. Any questions? None heard, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500.
Again, everybody was here, and I approve the October 16th, 2018 Board of Selectmen minutes.
Second.
Motion by Patrick, second by Peter. Any questions? None heard, all in favor?
Aye,
Opposed,
Captain.
abstained, 500.
All right, that's all signed. And it says executive session, but I didn't see an executive session set of minutes.
For 7:31, I don't think you did that one either.
Wasn't in here, unless it's attached to this other one somehow.
Yeah, maybe a paperclip.
Let me see if the
Jacked it
paperclip
up.
kind of jacked them together here. Nope, this was part
No,
of
that was,
this.
that was the election
It's
warrant.
all part of the election warrant.
You have one for 7:31?
I do not.
I guess we'll just have to...
I'm gonna go through them again, though, just to be sure, so we don't have any, no, it is not here, so we can't approve it.
Okay, we're missing 7:31 in the exec for
Missing,
Ken now. Okay,
missing in action. Oh, wait, they put it in a separate folder.
okay.
Was that an executive?
Yeah,
Well, that's why.
all right, so, I move, let's see, everybody was here, and everybody made the executive session. I move we approve the October 9, 2018 executive session minutes and hold.
Second.
Motion by Patrick, second by Peter. Any questions? None heard, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500.
Motion to adjourn.
Sorry, guys. Good night, Wareham. Hope everybody voted.
You got to call, because otherwise we just continue the meeting until forever.
Hmm?
You didn't call for a vote.
I didn't have to.
Should make a roll call.
No, it's not.
Aye.
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 Aye, aye, aye.
Aye.
Aye.